wipers at least work. My god, a truck! Work through, so I bonded very heavy. Turned, his mum had bought it from new. Hello everybody, I'm just waiting for a cab that's going to take me to pick up Fred, and the weather's looking okay at the moment, but storms and heavy rain is predicted, so I think the journey back's going to be a bit of an adventure, especially considering that car doesn't have a hood. I chose a brilliant day to come and pick up Fred. It's the weather's pretty torrid, and it doesn't have a cover. The windscreen wipers aren't working. But God, am I glad to be back in this little car, which I absolutely adore. The thing is, why do I actually like it so much? Because really, I have no right to. Sorry, got to get used to driving it again. Because it has caused me a lot of trouble. I've put a new engine in Fred, and it's a bored out A series. It's got a new gearbox, all sorts of stuff. Regular watchers will know that. I've had lots of issues, partly because it's got a different gearbox. It's a Datsun 5-speed, so that's taken some changing and doing and made things more complicated. And then yesterday, when I started up the engine, I noticed that there was smoke coming out of that breather there that comes from the cover. Now, a little bit of vapour on startup is normal, but significant smoke coming out on running is not. It's been back to the engine builder 2 or 3 times, not his fault, but it had a major block failure initially. God, I can't see much, I'll be honest. Had a block failure, and so it had to be completely rebuilt, and John was great, he took it back, he rebuilt it. And then there were some sort of oil leaks that were carrying on, which were causing a lot of issues. It was the rear main seal. These are notorious for it, but with the adapter kit, with this gearbox that I'm using, the 5-speed, it should have been possible to stop it. So John took it back again, took the engine out a couple more times, and now I'm picking it up again. Having done the conversion with this new gearbox, the 5-speed Datsun, it does make it nicer to drive, but the money involved in everything and the hassle, the extra hassle of all the non-standard stuff you have to think about, made me think it's just not really worth it. I don't know really, but anyway, it's done now. But when this car has caused me so much grief, why is it that I prefer it, for example, over my 308? That 308 is a beautiful car. It's my first and so far only Ferrari. I bought it cheapish. It had a lot of issues that I've worked through, so I bonded very heavily with that too, and I love that car, and it's very special. But how can a simple little essentially a British Leyland product, it isn't really an Austin Healey, well, it was designed by them I suppose, but how can something like this be so dear to my heart, and how can I prefer it to the 308? God, it is just atrocious. I wish the windscreen wipers at least work. My God, a truck! Oh my God, that is just so frightening. Oh my God, that is bloody awful. Oh wow. Right. Why that was truly frightening. It was just a wave of water. I couldn't see anything for 2 seconds. But why? Why do I like it so much? Where it goes back to the story of of the origins of this car. I bought it from my friend Alex, and in turn his mum had bought it from new, and she named it Fred. I didn't name it Fred, that's why it's called Fred. And she had it from journey. So, the family connection makes it quite important. This is Alex's mum. But on top of that, oh my god, but on top of that there is the way this car drives, its personality and the way it looks. But I am so struggling right now with this weather that I'm just struggling to think and concentrate on what I'm doing. So I think we will leave that till this rain eases up. I need to stop for petrol now anyway, and then I'll talk to you more about why Fred is so special. Also, one last thing before we stop is that there is someone, this car always reminds me of someone I haven't seen for a while. He's a good friend, and so that's also something that, of the same name obviously, also called Fred. So that's another reason, I guess, why it's special to me. Right, well, yesterday was truly frightening, so I came out again today. So just to tell you the rest of the story about this car, really, because I never want to have a trip like that again. It was my fault, miscalculation. But anyway, back to the driving experience now, because that's the other thing that makes this quite special to me. Is it good? Is it accomplished? Absolutely not. It darts all over the road. It's the steering is quite slow. It's a bit vague, especially off centre. But it does have a real sweetness to it, so it just feels quite natural the way it turns. Also, surprisingly, it has less scuttle shake than my Ferrari, than the Influenza. That may also be because A, this was designed as a convertible, and B, the suspension is quite soft. And that brings us on to the next bit about the handling. The suspension needs a bit of work. It was originally designed for the 948cc with, when new, I think it was 42 horsepower. It now should have about 90 horsepower, and the chassis is a little bit overwhelmed. It's quite easy to get the back end out, especially on these skinny tyres, but there is a project for the future. The engine has a lot more get up and go than the original 948, which was really slow, and mine was probably under power as well. Still not exactly massively fast, but it's fun. And it does need a proper still setting up. I'm still playing about with the carbs, with the jetting, but it is, you know, it's not technically good, but it's still a lot of fun to drive. The shift is really direct. Obviously it's sitting right on top of that old Datsun 5-speed, which is from, I think, an old Sunny or something. I can't remember which one it is. It's in one of the other videos, but it's some little hatchback that was done by Nissan. I have to say again, if I had to go back, I really wouldn't bother with the 5-speed. It cost me a lot of money in the end, between the gearbox and then the adapter stuff and all the rest of it, and it's a lot of hassle. Although you don't have to cut up the chassis, but you still, it's a fiddle getting it in with the engine. And honestly, I just don't think it's really worth it for what you get back. But you can drive quite slowly in this and still have fun. And, you know, you just can't say that for modern cars. You know, and I don't, you know, I quite like being able to drive almost within the speed limit and still being quite close to the limits of the car. The last thing really is the simplicity of it, the cheapness of the parts, how easy it is to work on. Those who follow me know that I like to tinker with my cars. I don't do everything, but I do as much as I can, and obviously the simpler a car is, the better it is to work on. So it just sort of slides at such slow speeds, it's just incredible. But it's great fun for it. An update on the Influenza is coming up very, very soon. It's almost ready, and a few exciting things to come up through that as well. So bear with me, content hasn't been massive recently. I haven't had as much time as I had before, but a few films are incoming. I've been on a few other runs, but without recording commentary, because I just wanted to be able to get on with it. And honestly, this car is so much fun. At the moment, it's a handful, right? Because the chassis just can't really cope, so it's all over the place. It's underdamped, it's probably undersprung as well, the ride height is too high. But oh my god, I'm just getting into it now, getting back into the feel of snicking through the gears. It's such a sort of like an immediate experience. I'm just absolutely loving it. And but I just thought I'd tell you, because I think the other run, and also the road's drying out a bit, so you can carry a bit more speed without it sort of fishtailing everywhere. But yeah, I just thought I'd tell you, because I think on the other run, I mean, I could feel I wasn't having quite as much fun as I wanted to. And that is because, yeah, basically it requires a bit of getting used to, and to get back into the swing of things, and just, you know, gelling with it. But I just love it. In the, you know, when you get in sync with it, it's just amazing. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, please subscribe. There are going to be some interesting things I'm doing with this car, so I am going to lower it a bit, not for looks, but because it needs to handle better. So I've been talking to Peter May Engineering about that, to get one of their packs and possibly put on their uprated dampers as well, which have a bit stiffer damping. So lots of good stuff to come. Please subscribe to my Instagram. It's the best way to message me if you need to. Please subscribe to the channel, and see you for the next video.